absolutely. But I think we get caught up, I know we get caught up, and we take these narrations, we take these sayings, and then we repeat them, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the room to speak truth to power. Well, I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
I don't speak truth to power.
Mm-hmm.
I speak truth to empower. See, my mission is not focused up, right? I don't have time for that. That philosophy has failed. My philosophy is I ain't speaking truth to power. I ain't wasting my time. I'm going to speak truth to grassroots, to empower, to get them into the room. I don't have time to speak truth to power so I can be removed from the table. I'm going to get the information. I'm going to digest it. I'm going to ingest it. And I'm going to take it, make myself full, and then be able to feed those people who are in the grassroots. We got this philosophy.
What's happening, y'all? This is Mike D with Black Fathers Now, where we're bringing the village to the brothers. Every couple of weeks, you can look forward to a quick inspirational message or a thought-provoking guest with knowledge and wisdom, all geared towards helping you be the best father that you can be. We're bringing the village to you. Now it's your turn to do something with what you learned. All right, y'all. Let's go. What's going on, fellas? This is Mike D, Mr. Double Down on You, your favorite personal development coach, with another episode of Black Fathers Now. Now, I know I always say this, and I always mean it, but when you hear this brother's story, you're going to be like, man, this brother's amazing. And the brother that I'm talking about is none other than Col Chaplain Khallid Shabazz, PhD. And when I say PhD, the brother got like 5 master's degrees. He got 2 PhDs. He's the highest ranking Muslim chaplain in the U.S. Army. Is it all the armed forces or just the U.S. Army?
All the armed forces and the history of the United States. Okay,
so he's the highest ranking Muslim chaplain in all of the U.S. Armed Service, in all of U.S. history. He is also a brother of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. We must not omit that. But as accomplished as he is with the degrees, the ranking, and all of that, when you hear his backstory, it's gonna blow your mind. So, brothers and ladies listening to, because y'all like to tune in to hear what we're talking about, let's welcome my frat brother, the Colonel, the big imam, as you might see him on TikTok and Facebook and all of that, Khallid Shabazz.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. I'm so excited of being here, ready to share my story with you, a story of a resilience and a story of overcoming many obstacles to get to where I am today.
Awesome, man. And literally, fellas, he and I chatted a few days ago, and my jaw was on the floor when he started talking about his journey and his story. So we're going to jump into that. But before we do it, y'all who listen to the podcast know we always start with shout outs because, you know, if you watch a movie, all the important people get mentioned up front. So let's have some shout outs, brother. Let the world know who are the folks that are supporting you, that are the wind beneath your wings before we jump into your journey, brother.
Yeah, honestly, for me, obviously it was a dependence on God, but my family, my wife, my children, those are the people kind of stood by me because I had to cut off, and you'll hear in the story, I had to cut off a lot of my outer circle, and I just kind of focused on myself and my family and self-development.
You had to cut off a lot. And I think that's going to be interesting because truthfully, especially as men, as brothers, if you come from a certain community or you come from the neighborhood or you come from your group of boys or whatever, that whole concept of being able to cut off when needed so that you can go and do what you have to do is extremely important. So I'm looking forward to hearing that. And speaking of that, man, let's just dive into your story, man. Take us back to the origin story of Dr. Khallid Shabazz.
Yeah, born Michael Darnell Barnes. And my family starts in a bedroom at 10 years old, being molested by a family friend. That in itself obviously was very difficult for me. I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know why it was happening. I didn't know what was going on. So it sent me into a tailspin. Special education in the 8th grade, failed the 9th grade, failed the 12th grade, and had to walk in summer school to get my diploma. Because I have a big body, I'm about 6'5", 275 pounds, I was allowed to go to college. But while I was in college, I was still dealing with the trauma of the molestation. Honestly, struggling, didn't know whether I was a damn man or a woman, because when you come up raised by all women, then you get molested. So it set off some intractable things inside of me. And every time somebody looked at me and stared at me, I thought they were looking at me because of the molestation. And then I would just take and beat the hell out of them because I had that much trauma inside of me. I had no self-worth, no self-esteem, and I would drink myself to sleep at night. All right. And so even though I was a quasi basketball star, people thought I was happy, but I was drinking myself to sleep at night, going around bullying people just to prove that I was a man. Well, all that came to a head one night. I went to a party and got in a fight. These guys jumped me, was shot in the back, beat with a shovel, where I almost lost my life. I had to be medevaced out to the nearest medical center. And all I remember was at 21 years old, is this how it's going to end? With all the pain and trauma in my life, is this how I'm going to die on the street like a dog? Being beat with a shovel, being shot in the back. And so after I recovered from that, I had 1 year left in eligibility in basketball. So I decided to go back to school. Well, that proved to be a bad decision, because when I got back to the school, probably about 5 weeks into the school, I went to another party, and the young man who shot me was at the party. Now, I got to tell you, this is one of the reasons we'll get into why I separated from my so-called friends. While we're at the party, all my boys were coming up saying, hey, man, you got to get that N-word. You got to go get him. You got to kill him. He tried to kill you. So not having my own mind, I had a sawed-off shotgun, and I had a 45 that somebody had given me, and I was going to kill this kid. There was one voice in the wilderness. His name was Ace. He was a senior on the basketball team. He's kind of the one guy I kind of respected. And he said, man, I'm gonna get teary-eyed here, because he said, man, if you do that, you're going to disappoint your mom, right? And I always had a great love for my mom. And so I decided not to do that. But even in his advice, he gave me bad advice. He said, why don't you just beat the hell out of her? So I got a crowbar out of my car, and I beat this kid with a crowbar, broke all of his ribs, knocked most of his facial structure out of joint. It was a bloody mess, and I felt satisfied. But that night, I went to jail, all right? And so while I was in jail, I was thinking, man, how the hell did I end up in this place? Where's my life going? Well, as I went to the judge to get to be sentenced, the judge said, hey, do you have anything to say for yourself, you piece of excrement, you thug? And I was crying, and I said, yes, ma'am, I have something to say for myself. This kid tried to kill me 6 months ago, and I was defending myself because I was afraid for my life. Fortunately for me, as you see all what's going on in the news and with the Black community, she called the counselors up. She says, is this true? Because they had failed to tell her that. Fortunately for me, that they told the truth. And they said, yes, it's true. And she let me go that day, brother. So I went to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, expelled from school, where I worked at Kmart as a janitor / cashier. And I decided that I needed to do something with my life. So I decided to come in the Army. You would think, okay, that's a great story. You got a success story. So, but no, when I got in the Army, I still was dealing with trauma. I still was dealing with the molestation. I still was drinking and all of those things. So I got 2 Article 15s, which in the Army means non-judicial punishment, but they take your money, they take your rank, and you have to do hard labor. Wow. And so I I was an hour away from suicide. I said, that's it. I'm a horrible father. I'm an even worse husband. I have no self-worth. And so I decided to take my life. It's the importance about your show and people like you and me. Again, somebody stepped into my life and said, hey, brother, I need to talk to you. We call him a sergeant major, the highest ranking enlisted person. He brought me to his office, and he said, you are more than your poor self-esteem. You are more than your low self-worth. If you won't do it for yourself, why don't you do it for your family? And it clicked to me. And it clicked to me at that moment. I had to live a life of sacrifice for my family, for my children, for my boy, for my little girls. And that day, brother, I decided to turn my life around. And then coincidentally, when I decided to do that, the movie Malcolm X came out.
Wow.
I saw Malcolm X in a jail cell with an 8th grade education. I always considered myself a dumb person, not smart. And I saw him with 8th grade education learn the whole dictionary. And I said, I don't know what the hell he is or who he is, but I am going to be him, right? And I patterned my life after Malcolm X, hence the name Shabazz. And I said I would be in school until I die. To this date, my dear family, I have been in school for 25 years straight. That's where the 2 doctorate degrees and the 5 master's degrees come from. And I dedicated myself to turning my life around and being an inspiration to everybody I meet. That's my story, brother.
Man, dude, I heard it the other day, but hearing it today again is just as jaw-dropping. I have to tell you, it's just as jaw-dropping. And, but then there's so many parallels to the lives of brothers. And even though everybody has different circumstances, there are a lot of common threads that we can identify with. Like you mentioned the concept of trauma, right? And some brothers deal with, a sexual abuse or other types of abuse or, verbal abuse, or sometimes just not feeling loved and not feeling supported. And that leads to, various traumas, or maybe you experience something that you just can't get out and you never deal with that, which then leads to this whole concept of low self-worth and low self-esteem. And, but one of the things that you mentioned is that throughout all of that, because of the low confidence, the low self-esteem, and the low self-worth, it was almost like you were searching for an identity, because it was like, I didn't have anything to connect to. And the moment that you made it bigger than yourself, the moment that your command sergeant major said, you need to do this for your family. And I think back to a lot of the things that you were doing before, they were all for you. It was because of how you were feeling. The moment that you took yourself out of the equation and made it bigger than yourself was the moment that you were open. That was the moment that your mindset and your heart was open. But then it was like this divine intervention that Malcolm X came out. You had someone that you could directly connect to. And to me, I think about the concept of the power of connection and why it's so important to have, for Black men specifically, to have people in places that you can directly connect to, whether you agreed with, Barack Obama's politics or not, or whatever. The thing that was important about him being in that position was, if you got a son or a daughter growing up, we no longer have to lie to them and say that if you want to be president, you can actually do it. Because to be truthful, most of our parents are just kind of lying to us to keep our, just to keep us motivated, but they never really believed it. So you had that connection, the power of identity, the power of being able to relate to Malcolm X, which then gave you this thing to really look towards after being open to making it bigger than yourself.
Yes, of course. It's an old saying, until you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at will never change, right? I had a different way to look at things. And so for me, when you're talking about, I told you I had to separate myself from others to go into myself. All the great people, if you read their biographies, whether it's Jesus, Moses, Muhammad, Dr. King, Malcolm X, they had to separate themselves for a period of time to go inside themselves to find who they were, right? Most of us are not lost, right? God didn't lose us. We just need to create who we're supposed to be. So I had a model, right, of strength. I had a model of intelligence. I had a model of dedication. And I focused on that. And one of the great things about what you said about Barack Obama, people get tied up into how he thought, but the symbol of him is better, right? Because at the end of the day, everybody should develop a philosophy, all right? And my philosophy, I have 4 I's: interdict mediocrity, intercept ignorance, infuse excellence. But the most important one is influenced by many, defined by none, right? I am sure Malcolm X will not be happy with me in the United States military, but I am not Malcolm X. I'm Khalid Shabazz, right? So I'm influenced by Malcolm X, but I am not Malcolm X. We don't have to be Barack Obama, but the symbol that he has given us to be a person who has defied the odds, right? That's what we need. We don't have to have group thinking. We're not people that are homogenous in thinking, right? We're people that have minds for ourselves, and we can take whatever model we have and turn it into our own existence.
Brother, I'm gonna tell you, there's a training that I do, and I talk, and the whole concept behind it is identity, capacity, and agility wrapped in your authenticity, right? So it really starts with who you are from an identity perspective, but then it's like, what are you capable of? But you really don't know what you're capable of until you fully hone in on your identity. But then the whole concept of agility is, you know what? I'm flexible, right? It's like I'm not so hard, fast, or hard, rigid in regards to how I'm developed that I can't move and maneuver in a way that best positions what I need to do or what I need to accomplish. But all of this is wrapped in your authenticity. And when you were just talking, it almost sent chills up my spine, because I literally went directly there, because it's about knowing who you are, knowing what you're capable of, being flexible, but also doing that through the lens of who you authentically are at all times.
That's right. There are going to be thousands of people who don't believe in you, and you shouldn't be one of them, right?
So stop. Say that again, man.
There are going to be thousands of people in this world who don't believe in you, and you shouldn't be one of them. When I started out on this journey, I was being mocked. I was being called, Saddam Hussein, or whatever dictator that was out there, Hold
on one second, brother. I don't mean to interrupt. So you said this is around the time that Malcolm X came out. So this was like 91, 92-ish?
That's correct, 92.
And so this also correlated with a lot of the stuff going on in the Middle East, correct?
That's right. They correlated with the Iranian crisis that had just happened. That correlated with Farrakhan, and around that time of the Million Man March. You're talking about Saddam Hussein, where we were fighting in the Desert Storm, right? And so all of those people were considered enemies, right? And then who am I to take on and join that type of philosophy, right? Are you crazy? This is what I was hearing from my friend. Are you crazy? Michael has flipped his lid. He's becoming one of them, and all kind of terrorist stuff before the word terrorist even came out. But, like I said, there are going to be thousands of people that believe in you, disbelieve in you. You shouldn't be one of them. I took that mission because I felt it was a mission for me, and I did my best with that mission. One of the things that happened, we talked about the other day, when I said, throughout time, religion has been passed down to us. We have taken it and we have mimicked it, parodied it. And I said, you know what? I don't want to do that. I don't want to join on to some religion and have some religious scholar tell me what I'm supposed to believe. I said, you know what? I'm going to take my savings and I'm going to get on a plane and I'm going to go to the Middle East, to Jordan, not Georgia. I'm going to Jordan, right? And I'm going to study Arabic. Well, you don't know anybody over there. Them people are crazy. They're going to kill you. You're gonna die. I said, God damn it, I'm already dead. Because I'm walking around like a zombie, scared to death of everything. I got on the plane, brother. I went to Jordan. I got in the first taxi, and I went to the first mosque that I seen, and I slept on that damn floor for 2 years until I learned Arabic. And I became what I wanted to become. And this story really is not necessarily about me. This story is about every human being having the courage to be who they're supposed to be. And that's what I've done for the last 25 years.
So, and let's not bypass the fact that you were in the military at this time as well. You had a wife at this time as well, and you were a father at this time as well, when you determined that I have to go on this mission because, like you mentioned, you felt dead inside. And so if you did not go on this mission, you didn't really see the point of living.
No, absolutely not. I had already had bouts with suicidal ideations. And I got out the military at a time where basically I was doing okay. And we had a car, we had a house, I had a wife, I had children. We go toss the ball back and forth. You know, ideally, I had overcame at that time, right? But for me, I was just walking around playing a role that wasn't mine, a societal role that somebody tells me this is what success is. And that success was a limit for me, right? You know, you can have a car and a car note and a house, but you can't be influential. You can't be impactful. Not where you came from. Your social and economic status won't allow you to be the person that I am now. So when I tell you I changed generations, but first of all, I had to change who I was inside. So my name, Khallid, means immortal, one whose ideas live forever. Shabazz means an eagle that flies above all eagles. So the first thing I had to do is change the philosophy inside of myself, and then change the philosophy for my family. And not to be some run-of-the-mill person. I needed to show my sons and my daughters what exceptional means. And I had to sacrifice my life to be exceptional. This is why I developed the 5 to 4 eyes. Interdict mediocrity, intercept ignorance, infuse excellence, and influenced by many, defined by none. When you're talking about intercepting ignorance, nobody gets to put a limit on me. Nobody gets to put a limit on me because you are afraid. Nobody gets to put a limit on me because of your past experience. Nobody gets to put a limit on me because somebody told you it wasn't possible for you. I interdict that type of mediocrity and intercept that type of ignorance, brother.
Brother, man, you know, it's so powerful. It's like, again, I'm mind blown again by listening to this story again. And it's like each time I hear it, it resonates more and more. And when you mention the whole concept of thousands of people are going to believe in you, not going to believe in you, you shouldn't be one of them. And then you mentioned the whole concept of I had to first change who I was inside before everything else changed. It was like this whole thing is just, it's resonating, but I think it's going to resonate with a lot of brothers who are struggling with their purpose, struggling with what they're called to do, struggling with the path that they're supposed to walk. A lot of that is the struggle is because they've not taken that time to go inside to really identify what God has called them to do, what the walk that they're supposed to take. They've not taken that step. And so for you, now granted, I don't know if everybody is going to say like, you know, I'm gonna throw the deuces and go 2 years to Jordan and you know, and do it. But there may be somebody that needs to have their moment, you know, where they do something like that. I don't know.
Well, Jordan is only a metaphor. It's a simile. It's a geographical location, right? However, you can go down to the local YMCA, sit in the back room for 2 years or whatever to find who you are. You don't have to go to a certain place, but you got to go to a certain place mentally. The problem I see, and it's just my opinion, we're looking for approval. You don't need approval for your purpose, right? You don't need a bunch of people to ratify your constitution of who you're supposed to be. I didn't look for approval. I felt what I was supposed to do, and I told everybody to go to HE double hockey sticks. My frat brothers, my so-called friends, I told them to move out of the way. I need to find who I am, right? I sat down with Bible and Quran for 9 hours. I wanted all the wisdom that I had from there. If I wasn't doing that, I was watching videotapes. I was in school. Thankfully, I got a good wife because I'm telling you, I didn't even have a lot of time for her because I told her, listen, I'm not playing. I need to be a man. I am no good to you in my present form, right? So thankfully, she stood by my side. But the problem is, again, you're looking for approval from your wife. You're looking for approval from your friends. You're looking for approval from your family. When God gives you a mission, man, He gives you a mission. You don't have time for that. You love those people. But at the end of the day, do you love the mission in which God put you on? And it's a very difficult mission. I'm telling you, that's the crux of the matter. Do you love the mission that God put you on? Do you really believe in the mission that God put you on? Because if you don't, you're going to fail every time because you're looking for approval instead of going after your purpose.
Man, dude, mission driven. I'm going to be honest with you. After we talked the other day, that concept has been just resonating in my mind. The concept of being mission driven. It's like purpose, mission driven. I'm not distracted, mission driven. And it's interesting because, you know, there's something that has been inside of you from the beginning that it took 30 years or whatnot to unlock to get you to where you are today, you know, after you made the transition, right? But that thing was already inside of you. And so what's interesting about it, I interviewed some brothers a few years, or not a few years ago, actually almost a year ago now, but I interviewed some brothers out of LA, and it was two brothers. They have this company called Con Creates, and they met while they were in prison. One of them spent 17 years in prison for successfully robbing 27 banks. The other one ran like a $300 million drug empire. They met in jail, but then they also basically started conceptualizing marketing because they were brilliant, right? They connected with a guy who was a CEO who was also locked up with him. Long story short, they now have a marketing agency called Con Creates, in which they employ current and formerly incarcerated individuals to do marketing campaigns for some of the biggest brands in the world. That's what they're doing now. But the thing that was interesting as we were talking, they were geniuses already, but their genius was misdirected from the jump. Once they figured out how to switch and flip, basically flip the switch on that genius and go from a non-productive pathway to a productive pathway, they're impacting the world on a way that you're just like, whoo. And I hear that story, and now I think about you, and you talk about your backstory. It was like you were focused on dealing with your trauma in the way that you knew how. You were mission driven on saying, I'll be doggone if somebody disrespect me. But when that switch flipped, now you're mission driven on what you're doing now. It's the same level of intensity. It's just directed in a way that's going to impact generations.
Well, it's a mind shift. It's saying, again, I'm not apologizing for who I'm supposed to be. Those brothers had genius, as you said, but all of our genius sometimes is locked up in dysfunction, right? Ooh. That dysfunction is being apologetic to the environment that we're in, keeping it real, right? You see, you're not a product of your environment, you're a product of your thinking. So when I tell you that you have to think your way out of situations, right? You don't need to be locked in a cage. I didn't need to necessarily go to Jordan to understand that, but I needed to be locked in a cage, and I needed to go to Jordan to understand that. Do you understand me?
Yes.
Because I needed to get out of my dysfunction, right? I needed to get out of that environment because that environment itself was toxic. So I think all of us, as you said very eloquently, have genius inside of us, but our society, when I say society, I'm talking about this dome right here.
Yes.
Our society and our Constitution has told us that we're less than, right? Because you'll never be an eagle hanging around chickens, right? The chickens that we hang around constantly telling us what we can't do, what we shouldn't do, and what we cannot achieve, right? And you have to pull yourself back from those persons unapologetically and say, this is what I'm going to do. And what's interesting about that, all the people, not some, all of the people who told me that I shouldn't go on this journey, that I was crazy, are now my mentees saying, I wish I had the courage that you had 25 years ago. Because those same people who discourage you become the people now that you're mentoring, but they were an obstacle in the pathway of your progress, but you couldn't see that because you were too busy catering to their limitations.
Courage.
Courage.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you, it's so interesting. Again, one of the trainings that I do, I've created this methodology called the Conquer Method, but it's spelled CONCOUR, which is confidence and courage, because every decision that we make in life requires either confidence or courage, right? Confidence is because of, courage is in spite of. Right. So when we have confidence, it's something we're pulling from. It's like, we got an experience here. It's like, I can step into this. I've done it 1,000 times, or I've done something similar. I got confidence, right? I can swim from this side of the pool to the other because I've done it 1,000,000 times. If I've never swam before, I need courage to jump in the pool, right? But the moment that you exhibit courage, it then turns into confidence the next time that you encounter that type of situation. So what you did by having courage on the front end was you then built confidence, because now you have a body of work to build from, which a lot of the others who were the naysayers were scared to take a step in doing. But your confidence now helps them to build their courage. And so going forward, they'll have confidence to then help somebody else when they need courage. And like this cycle continues, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. I walked into the education center when I decided to take this journey. I was scared. I was nervous. I didn't do well in high school. I had a 2.48 in college, and basically people were taking my classes for me because I was a good basketball player. And I walked into the education center, and I saw two things that would also help my thinking. The first thing was, it says most people die at 25, but they're not buried until they're 75, right? Ooh. And I said, I asked the counselor, I said, what does that mean? He said, most of us stop at 25 years old and we buy into this false narrative of reality, right? It ain't realistic for you to think that you can be a colonel. It ain't realistic for you to think that you can be a doctor. It ain't realistic to think you can be an author because you have to focus on your wife and your kid. That's false. That's a false narrative, right? Mm-hmm. And he said, most of us die at 25 and we just wait until we're 75 for somebody to throw the dirt on us. And then we realize we wasted our whole lives. The second thing, which you're talking about impactful, it says, if your ship don't come in, swim out to meet it. I said, oh my God. Ooh. I said, what does that mean? He said, it don't matter if you got a lifeguard. It don't matter if you got a life vest. He said, that ship out there is yours. It don't matter if you can't swim, because at the end of the day, he said, the God principle is going to get you to that ship, but you need to have the courage to jump in that water and know that God is going to get you to that ship, because that ship is yours. And if you don't jump into that water and have the courage to go out there to get there, you'll never find your destiny. You'll never find your purpose.
If that ship don't come in, you jump.
Your ship don't come in, swim out to meet it.
Because that's your ship.
That's right. Discrimination, racism, prejudice, Islamophobia, Christian phobia, whatever it is. You swim through those obstacles in that shark-infested water, you're going to get bit. You might even think you're on the brink of death, but God has you. He's going to get you to that ship, but he's going to try you along the way to find out if you're worthy to go to that ship. That's just the facts. And so now, when I walk into a room, sometimes when I walk into the room, I just cry, right? Because I can't believe it's me. It's like an out-of-body experience and where I come from. And sometimes I'm just crying because when I walk in the room, brother, this is no hype talk. People are uncomfortable, right? And I have a saying, when you're comfortable with yourself, you make everybody around you uncomfortable who are not comfortable with themselves. Because I'm highly educated, I'm confident, and I know who I am, and I know where I'm going. And so people are very uncomfortable when they're dealing with me, because I'm not swayed to the left or right by your opinion. I'm not swayed to the left or right what you think I should do, because I already have a firm constitution on where I'm going and where I'm supposed to be.
Man, mission driven. Honestly, if I had to legitimately just give a moniker, a quote, a tab on you, I just say mission driven. Like everything, just mission driven. Like what mission driven. That's it.
Yes.
Like it's hard to go anywhere else with it aside from the fact that you're mission driven, and nothing's going to detract you from the mission at hand.
No, not at all, because when you become purposeful, right? When your focus is on taking care of God's business, and when I say God's business, it's taking care of human beings my job is to take care of human beings, to inspire them to be where I am. And I said this in an interview and they called me arrogant, but I said, I'm the realm of possibility for young men who are in the ghetto who think they can't make it. She said, is that sounds a little conceited, Dr. Shabazz. I said, well, I don't care how it comes across, and I'm sorry that it comes across that way, but our young men and young women need to see strength in us, as opposed to just being on the basketball court. And I love basketball. I'm not being saying anything disparaging about people who play sports, but at the end of the day, we need educated people. We need people who are strong. We need people who can show that it's okay to be intelligent. It's okay to be confident. I have this intractable relationship with humility, right? If you look in the definition of humility, it's a person who thinks less of themselves, right? So I have this intractable relationship. People say you should be more humble. You should, walk in silence. Yeah, that's not me. Because when you're on purpose, when you're on mission, I need to be loud. I need to have a bullhorn. I need to tell people it is possible. I wrote a book on self-esteem, and all the research that I gathered over a 5-year period, it says it goes in line with what you were talking about. A person who believes in what they are standing for, it is impossible to get them off of that course. However, juxtaposed to that, if they don't believe and they're looking for acceptance, if they're apologetic about where they're supposed to go, it is very easy to deter them, and they will be in 1,000 directions and never find themselves.
Ooh, man, dude, I'm gonna tell you the thing that's so interesting about it. It's like when we think about the concept of being humble, and then from a spiritual perspective, it's about submitting yourself to God. It's being humble to God. It has nothing. It does not tell you need to walk with trepidation. It does not mean that you need to go and cower and make yourself smaller or dim your light. Because even the Bible says you don't put a light under a clay pot, right?
That's correct.
So to that point, you can still be bold. You can be confident. You can have courage. You can walk in purpose, and you can still be humble. But being humble is submitting yourself to God. It's not submitting yourself to people. It's not going and trying to be lesser than or trying to dim yourself or to not be bold. Because if you're on a mission, if you're mission driven, like my man, Colonel Chaplain, Dr. Khallid Shabazz, the highest ranking Muslim chaplain in U.S. military history. I mean, you gotta walk in purpose, but you submit yourself to God. You're humble to God. But when it comes to people, you got to do your thing.
Well, yeah, because humility to me is God has blessed me with all these gifts because I submitted to him. Humility is being bold enough to get people those resources. In the military, the officers and the enlisted folks, we have, kind of this relationship where, if you're officer, people consider you a sellout, especially in the Black community, right? So for me, being a bridge between that, because I was enlisted, now I'm an officer, I get to pour into those young people's mind. Right? I get to be humble and walk beside them and talk to them 3 and 4 hours. See, that's humility. And to this date, you're talking about humility. See, I could just take all my gifts and have the top Black syndrome, right? And be the top Black everywhere I go. But no, I pour into those young people. I have put 82 young African Americans to officer school, right? I am on PhD committees. I have made 12 PhDs. That's humility. I can hide my gifts. I can say, oh, God bless me. Oh, I'm favored. And I can just sit in my house and bask in my own glory. That's arrogance. Humility is taking what God has given you and sharing it with the world. And you can't share it with the world if you sitting back scared to death that people are going to talk to you, talk about you. People are going to call you arrogant. People are going to call you conceited. No, son, you don't believe in anything. You believe in those people as juxtaposed to your mission.
Ooh, brother, I'm going to tell you, that's the definition of wisdom. So when you stop and you think about it, knowledge is just the data. That's the information, right? Wisdom is the practical application of that data, of that information, and of that knowledge. Yeah. So when you start thinking about it, a lot of people want the data. We want the data. We want the plan. We want the data. But the thing is, do you have the wisdom to practically apply that data? Do you have the wisdom to put those resources or put that network or put your connections to work so that you can create a pathway? You know, I heard a brother speak a while ago, and one of the things he said, true success is when my successor succeeds. See, a lot of us want the glory for ourselves and all of that, but my whole thing is, and we know this, you know, as the bros, you know, being a bridge builder, you know, you're building a bridge for that one that's coming behind you. And so when you stop and you think about it, if I'm not building a bridge, what am I doing?
That's right. No, you're absolutely right. There's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is knowing that tomato is a fruit. Mm-hmm. Wisdom is not putting it in a fruit salad. Right?
There it is. You're going to get kicked out the cookout doing that, man.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's just the bottom line. You know, a lot of us, and I'm writing a book right now, and I can't release it until I'm out of the military in a couple of years, but it's called The Top Black Syndrome, right? Mm. I just put it on TikTok today. All of these military schools that I went to, you know, I'm the only black in the class, right? And, you know, it's great, right? I had the courage to do that. And I can sit there and pat my chest. You see, I'm only black. You know, I'm the only black in history. No. That's dumb. Because somebody was in cotton fields from KC morning to KC night, picking cotton so your backside could be in those schools. God bless you to be there. Now you need to understand that you got to reach back and help people. And so metaphorically, my hands are brittled with cotton from picking up my brothers and sisters and sometimes dragging them to a place that they didn't think they could be. And that's real humility, brother. And if I could change, I'm on a mission to change that word. That's real humility, in my opinion. Man,
and it's humility, but it's also responsibility.
Yes.
It's a responsibility. You're in those rooms for a reason. And you know, there's no magical Negro, right? So you're in that room for a reason because you have the wherewithal, the mindset to say that I'm not supposed to be the only one in this room. And that's a buddy of mine I interviewed not long ago, his father was the superintendent of a school district. He went to a meeting and he said, he looked around, he was the only black guy in the room, this board meeting with all these politicians. He leaned over to his partner and said, like, where are all the black people? The guy leaned back over to him and said, you're here because you're supposed to bring them.
Yeah, amen.
That thing hit me in my soul. I was just like, you know what? When you are the only one in the room, honestly, you're supposed to bring some more. That's why you're there.
Well, you absolutely. But I think we get caught up, I know we get caught up, and we take these narrations, we take these sayings, and then we repeat them, right? I'm in the room to speak truth to power. Well, I'm not. I don't speak truth to power. I speak truth to empower. See, my mission is not focused up, right? I don't have time for that. That philosophy has failed. My philosophy is I ain't speaking truth to power. I ain't wasting my time. I'm going to speak truth to grassroots, to empower, to get them into the room. I don't have time to speak truth to power so I can be removed from the table. I'm going to get the information. I'm going to digest it. I'm going to ingest it. And I'm going to take it, make myself full, and then be able to feed those people who are in the grassroots. We got this philosophy. We just follow blindly. I don't believe in following blindly. I don't want kumbaya. We shall overcome. No, sir. I'm not speaking no truth to power. It's a waste of my time.
Brother.
I'm going to take that information. I'm going down to my young brothers and sisters grassroots, and I'm going to educate them, give them self-confidence, self-worth, and I don't care if I got to sit with them too. Some people I sat with 5, 6 years. And on the 6th year, they got it. And they took off like a rocket because I had the time to sit with them, right? And so a lot of people say, man, when did you get the revelation to become a chaplain? See, I didn't get the revelation to become a chaplain because I was some holy guy and I had a calling and therefore I saw a light. And no, I surveyed the area. I looked at the military and I said, man, how can I be most effective? And when I saw the chaplain, because the chaplain came talk to me, he sat to me 2-3 hours talking to me, trying to uplift me. I said, oh my God, that guy's job is to just go around uplifting people. I said, that's the job for me. That's the job where I can speak truth to empower the masses of the people. That's why I became a chaplain, and that's why I'm here today. I'm walking a different road, brother. I'm walking a different road. People, when I was getting ready to go to chaplain school, I told my wife, oh, I don't know if I can do this. I ain't holy enough. I know they're going to be in there reading scripture all day and, you know, talking about sins and behavior. I said, I ain't concerned with none of that. I'm trying to get to the grassroots people, but I'm going to do whatever I have to do to ensure that I can go out and uplift some people. So when you come to my office, we ain't gonna sit down and talk about scripture all day. We're gonna talk about what's inside of you and how to use that scripture to empower you. And that's it.
Man, I don't speak truth to power. I speak truth to empower. If Absolutely. That ain't a doggone mic drop, I don't know what one is. So, brother, I know we gotta wrap this thing up. Man, how can brothers and, you know, sisters tune in too, because they like to hear what we're talking about and learn how we think. How can folks follow you? How can they connect with you? How can they learn more about you, get some of your books, whatever? How can folks just really tap into Chaplain Colonel Khallid Shabazz?
Yeah, I'm on TikTok. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn because I want to share what's in my head with you, not to make you me. You know, I chose certain things in my life because they came at a time of my life where I needed them for me. But I'm on every social media outlet there is, usually under Dr. Khalid, but Facebook is Khallid Shabazz, PhD. But yeah, I got over 100,000 followers, brother, who just tap in, and I give daily inspiration, daily messages. But people can also contact me on email, Dr. Shabazz06@gmail.com. I'm more than willing to sit down with anybody and share some inspiration with them.
So look, man, I'm gonna have your contact information in the show notes, but Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Dr. Khalid, Khallid Shabazz, PhD. If you just Google the brother, his stuff will pop up. You'll see some information about him. And if you want to email him, it's drshabazz06@gmail.com. Reach out to the brother. As you can hear, his story's amazing. He's amazing, but the big thing is he's on a mission. He's mission driven, and if you come with the BS, you're not going to distract him from that mission, because he's here not to speak truth to power, but he's speaking truth to empower. And brother, thank you for all that you do.
No, thank you. And I ask all of you guys for your prayers and your thoughts. This is a difficult mission because you're going against the grain. You're going against years of stereotypes, years of where people think you should be. And it's a dangerous mission. I'll say this in closing. I remember when I became the first Muslim chaplain, first division Muslim chaplain in U.S. history. And if you go back to the websites, people were threatening to kill me in the pulpit. All right. And, interestingly enough, all right, we had 2 women. They were married. And so all over posts, nobody would counsel them. And one of my friends said, I know who will counsel you. Chaplain Shabazz will. And I counseled those young ladies, right, in their problems. And they went to the website, brother. This is important. They went to the website and they were whipping them brothers and sisters down. They say, if you kill them, we're going to kill you, because this is a good brother. And my point to that story is, you're going to have death threats. You're going to have people who leave your life. You're going to have people who don't like you. But I think it's all a test. And when you look at human beings, in particular, those two human beings that came to me, they were also considered outcasts in the military. But when you look at human beings that God bring into your life, whether they're Christian, Muslim, gay, straight, whatever they are, right? You got to take an opportunity and try to understand why God has you there. And maybe it's to speak truth into their lives and empower them, and then they become allies for you.
Ain't nothing else I can say to that, man. Fellas, make sure you follow Dr. Khallid or Chaplain Colonel Dr. Khallid Shabazz on all social media platforms. Reach out to the brother, man. His story's amazing. I'm full from listening to him. Just continue to do what you're doing, brother. And as always, make sure y'all follow Black Fathers Now on all social media platforms. Share this episode out. It's going to help a lot of people. And literally, until next time, y'all be blessed, well, and wise. And I'll holler at you. Peace.
Peace.
Yo, fellas, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And always, always, always visit blackfathersnow.com, as well as follow Black Fathers Now on virtually every social media platform you can think of. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. Just follow us and engage with us, man. Look forward to hearing from you. And I guess until next time, I'll holler at you. Peace.